Somewhere over the rainbow, skies are blue, and the dreams that you dare to dream really do come true.
Our desire is towards the collective orgasm, and we would all like to come together. And I think that the desire is really related to synchronization, because we realize from very early age the lack of time. You know, we don't have all the time in the universe, and the whole idea of video and television is to compress time and space into a single unity, and to have everything here and now. Things happening when we want them to, only when we want them to, exactly, full control. But there's some kind of delay, in fact, between, you know, that's the humor of the film, is the delay between our desire and how it's so blatantly expressed when you watch television, and then, you know, how we lag behind sometimes, you know, and the accidents that happen. You know, this is the car accident sequence, and it's strange because there's a real kind of there's a dark side to all this, because you can go to there's a big shop in Paris called the Fnac, and you can go and buy all these cassettes, you know, the 140 best accidents, you know, that have ever happened, you know, the people just being in their cars and their motorbikes being sort of ripped to pieces, you know, and it's like the other side. It's the shadow of this desire.
You mentioned also propaganda and synchronicity, and you used some archive footage about that. Is there a kind of historical idea also in this?
Well, yes, because the film talks about the history of cinema as well, and I've made a game of chess with 3D, yeah, with the black pieces are the images of the films of Leni Riefenstahl, primarily The Triumph of the Will, and the white pieces are images of Hollywood, Busby Berkeley, which is just a little bit later, but I can see the same shots. It's very easy to zap between the two. If you just take the color out of the Hollywood, you can find the same shots, and it's about the spectacle of synchronization as being something that fascinates and inspires confidence in somebody's power and their competence. Yeah. It's Leni Riefenstahl, who is the queen of synchronization. She's got a very strange. She's in the video, yeah, and she's got a very strange face. She's got a very asymmetrical face. If you look at one side of her face, you can see an old woman, and if you look at the other, you can see a little girl. Very, very odd. I suppose we've all got asymmetrical faces, but I chose to take just the little girl side and make a mirror of this side, because Leni always lived in some kind of bubble, and she wanted to just live with being content about being a genius. And I think that it's thanks to her that a lot of directors are much more conscious of what they're doing. But in her time, she could live inside this bubble. Of course, she had a terrible shock later on with when she got to New York and she found out what was happening thanks to her fabulous publicity campaign. But she's in the image, and she's the little girl who's her image is balancing back and forward like a swing, like a child on a swing, and she's pushing it. Because Leni was always in control. She was always the one who even in the documentary that was made about her, at one moment she tries to take over the control of the film, and she said, "You're not filming me right, you know, you're putting me in a bad context," and all this. She was incredibly conscious of her power, but at the same time she liked to sort of like see it as genius. I use her because in some strange way I identify with her. I see that I have the same kind of ability, and I see so many other people who have got the same ability to hypnotize everybody and to get, you know, their blood boiling. I lived in Ireland when I was a child in Belfast, and I heard the big drums passing and the people's blood starting to boil, and all these songs of hatred that were passed from a very early age, from one generation to another, which people in other countries don't ever hear, so they can't understand what's happening with all this hatred between Protestants and Catholics. But I understood the way the hatred was transmitted and how the people never really thought about why they were killing each other. They just sang the songs and just stabbed each other in rhythm. You know, it's.
And what do you think about this element of repetition and digital? I mean, it's a kind of a very. I mean, it's kind of a basic language form of digital, kind of the repetition element. You know,
yeah, well, it's infinitely possible. It's just part of the property of the medium that everything is fluid. Everything can be repeated, everything can be copied, and everything can be brought together on the one plane as if they were contiguous, but they never were. Things didn't happen that way.
Mm-hmm. And then you have a publicity spot in your film.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do, because I'm thinking about how this is very frivolous, this part of the film. I'm thinking about how trailers are made in Hollywood, and I thought that I'd make a trailer that sounded a bit like the trailer that was made for the film about Clint Eastwood and the monkey. You know, this kind of Frank Zappa type voice that gets everybody really excited, you know, and things speeding around all the time. But it's, I mean, that's a very humorous part of the film. The two key images are the synchronized orgasm and finally the really heavy stuff at the end is about the consequences of within the history of cinema, the consequences that had on humanity. And I suppose the last key image is the credits at the end, because this is really about just getting completely out of it on rhythm and the ultimate seduction, which I can't escape myself. You know, I just love jumping up and down and shaking myself all over the place. I think that's why that we've come this way. You know, because this kind of ritual, this kind of coming together has been present since the inception of humanity. You know, the rhythm has always been there to take us somewhere else. But in fact, you know, it blinds us completely. But it's nice to be blind for one night. You have to wake up the next day, but you know.
Another question is your relationship to the machine worlds, and I think you have a.
Well, I am a synchronizer, just like Lenny. I'm a synchronizer. I was born a synchronizer. I started singing before I could speak. And it's not something I ever learned. It's just something that was in me, you know, this sort of, I suppose it might be part of the Irish inheritance as a really musical country. And I suppose that's their bane. That's what really brought them down, you know, because they sang their way into terrible war, yeah, since so long. Yeah, my relationship with technology is that I manipulate it completely. And I can do all kinds of sorcery.
You have some time a non-digital lifetimes, like, I don't know.
Singing. I love singing in the bathroom. I don't sing for anybody anymore. I started singing when I was 3.5 until 14 in the cabaret and the theatre, and I played a bit of music, but not on guitar. But I'd rather just sing, you know. You're so free when you sing, so it makes me really happy. Sometimes it's the only thing that makes me happy, because it's, in a way, it's so much the antithesis of all these machines, this mediation and stuff like that. And I love the theatre for the same reason, and I love painting for the same reason, is that it's so incredibly live. And when you make a mistake, well, it's there. You can't undo that, you know. With the machine, with the computer, you can just go undo, and there's no trace of your error, you know. I think we get intimidated by machines. You know, we can't even draw a straight line as well as the computer can. I mean, it's one of the most basic things that you might want to do, or maybe not.
Pardon. It is like you use all this technology, you know, and in saying basically in the context of the film something which is really like the synchronizer, mass propaganda, manipulation, and so. And then there is this film full of all this incredible colors, and one had really the impression that you really enjoy to play around with that.
Oh yes.
So there's
I love getting high on color and volume, and I love dancing and all those kinds of things. Yes, and purging one's lungs, getting it all out. Yeah, but I think there's really healthy channels for that. You know, you don't. I mean, maybe we could just go back to being a bit more live. You know, a bit more theatre, a bit more. Maybe there's nothing wrong with practicing. You know, and teaching yourself to say something that, you know, is very fast and very hard to say or very hard to sing. That's a real sort of changing of the body. I think one of the things that maybe is getting lost with the possibility of, like you will do with this film, of throwing out all of the garbage that I said and only taking the really interesting stuff. You know, I'm just going to seem so clever.